This is a BMW V8 that has a lower timing cover resealed and an engine that hopefully is in time. So that was a couple hours today. This thing's back in here. The wagon's done, filled it up with oil, test drive from that lower oil pan gasket and subframe removal. Everything's dry, everything's nice. So that project's done, paid for and picked up. Back on this guy, we got the rebuilt Vanos units, or resealed rather, Vanos units last week. Those are in, chains are on, timed, lower cover. So tomorrow we let that dry, finish the torque procedure, then get onto the upper timing covers, valve covers, reassembly of the cooling system, vent hoses, all that fun stuff. Hopefully turn the key here later this week. My dad and I got a little bit of time on the 355 today. We had those fender liners out last week. So then you take off this little beauty cover, the one that says Ferrari 5 valve. That's just a bunch of 4mm Allen screws. That lifts up out of the way. You clean off the surfaces. There's a paper gasket in there. Then the ignition wires, the coils are actually up in here. So the ignition wires look like this, and there's a special tool that allows you to kind of grab here and then just pull up. And on this side, all of them came out really easily, and I just used a plastic non-marring pry tool. On the other side, 2 came out easily and 2 were really stuck. So I fabricated a tool that looks like the Ferrari one that's probably $3,000. I just put shop towels down in the plug well so nothing gets in there. But I'll show you the tool I made. I don't know that Sticky RX makes it, but those guys are assholes. I don't work with them. So I made my own tool in about 15 minutes just with a piece of scrap aluminum or some sort of metal. So it's that long, and you put a 90-degree in it, and then you carve out 16mm, and then take a Dremel and make sure the edges are nice and soft so you don't tear up the rubber boots on the spark plugs. But you snake that in there under it and pull. So nice little DIY tool. In other news, he went around the car today with a bit of touch-up paint that we got in Ohio 10, 12 plus years ago now, maybe 15 years ago. Somehow that was still somewhat viable. So you just cover up little spots like that. That's where something had rubbed through, and everything's dry now. So that, a couple little marks on the calipers. Nothing substantial, but we might as well while it's in here for service and up in the air. Plugs in those gaskets are on the way, and that parking brake cable, they should be here early next week, I hope. Mid next week, they have to come from North Carolina. Customer approved all the jobs that we recommended after the MPI on the 530, so I got everything on order there. I also ordered a bunch of stuff for this 540, the 98. Was not able to get in touch with him today, so hopefully tomorrow we'll talk about the suspension and decide what we're going to do there with regards to a plan for struts, coils, top mounts. If he wants to lower it, keep this suspension, go with Coney's or Billy's. Really, there's a ton of options. As you can see, it's yet another very wet day here in Southern California. We had about 15 minutes of crazy hard rain this afternoon, real high wind. That seems to be done now, which is nice. I did get the 540 in for a little bit, not because I don't want it to get wet, I don't really care, but primarily because it was just cold in there, and there's no better heater than an M62. This is why you get a sticker that allows you to drive in the carpool lanes, even if you're riding solo. Thank God. Now that was a doozy. Traffic in the express lanes had come to a screeching halt. I had to ditch out of the lane to make sure nobody hit me, but thankfully everybody was paying attention, so I couldn't film as I drove by. It was just all rubberneckers right after we got past the accident. It opened wide up, and we're cooking at 83 now. So a semi-trailer car carrier, complete with probably 8-10 cars on the back, jackknifed across all of the lanes, southbound 15 right at Via Rancho Parkway at the Escondido San Diego City line. And then they had another car carrier there that they're loading all the other involved wrecked cars up on. So it's probably 12, 14 cars total, plus a semi-trailer. They had a snowplow there pushing debris out of the lanes. None of the lanes are open. Traffic's backed up for about 5 miles. This ride home today will cost me $2 to not sit for potentially a few hours in traffic, idling, hungry. Get the Easy Pass thing if you live in California. If you live in San Diego, don't. We don't want more people in here, but this is it. If usually traffic over there looks like this at this time of day. It's 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Over here, you can just cook. It's wonderful, and it costs $1 or $2. I should note that's when the demand for these lanes are high. Usually, I think it's 50 cents to go from California Highway 78 down to 163.